Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen. What's up, JJ? Everything good?
Yeah.
Feeling,
yeah, we got that first day back from vacation thing going on. And
hey, look.
Vacation for us, no. I mean, will say everybody
this.
Listening, you get back on the groove after the holiday break. It's hard.
Do you get back in the groove?
Well, it takes a minute.
I haven't. Listen, I got the ick today when I saw a bunch of people in their cubicles. Ugh. I don't want to interact with people.
Where you been for a month? Welcome back to work, bro.
I pulled in the parking garage. I was like, geez, whose parking spot can I steal today? Nobody's. Jeez.
Somebody saved all their vacation time for the end of the year.
That's fine.
Good for you.
Good for them, and good for you guys. Welcome back to the program. So everybody's kind of getting back in that swing of things, and school's likely fired back up again.
Yeah.
I know for us in the Davis School District started back today, so they gave us that buffer of a Monday.
That's very appreciated.
No, it was very nice. It was very nice.
We didn't get that in the Jordan School District.
Oh, no. Hey, but you know what? Officially, we added our 16-year-old to the insurance yesterday.
Yeah, we joked about that.
No, it's not a joke.
We let people know that you were...
It's not a joke.
You were at the DMV yesterday.
Yeah, I was.
And
I was.
I've already gone through that once, and that is... That's a milestone in parenting that is...
It's nerve-wracking.
Very.
Nerve-wracking.
And the insurance, but nothing prepares you for the insurance shock.
No. And I'm glad they make you shop it around beforehand. Like your insurance company goes, hey, you going to add a new driver? You don't have to until they get their actual license officially, but here's what the quote's going to be.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no. And on top of it, by the end of yesterday, and he's a good kid, all right? And I'm not even going to throw a but in there. However, by the end of yesterday, I was already getting hit up for gas money.
However.
And it was like, you throw in some birthday gas? I was like, come on.
Turning 16 and driving and all these things
it's
a great opportunity to teach your children economics and
the
reality of life.
No, it is. And you know what? And I even told him, I said, you're actually driving, you got to feather this thing, man. You could get 45 miles of the gallon out of this thing. Not the 31 you're getting currently, not the 27, because it's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, but you need to be at 25 miles an hour in 1 second. You don't need to be. Turn into an old man.
Oh, wait till he gets that ticket for driving.
No, I know. And he does. He thinks
over the speed limit at 25.
He thinks he needs to get to the speed limit as fast as that car will get there, and then he's like, and then I'll be driving the speed limit. I'm like, settle down, man. So, look, we were all there at one point. So the cycle continues. I was just glad he's one of those kids who wants to get his license now. There are kids who don't want to.
It's
still a
thing?
Yes, it is.
Really?
I don't know. I don't even know if Alex, our producer, has a license. No? Listen, but you know what I'm talking about.
Wait. Alex.
He's joking. Come on.
Are you?
You're joking, right?
No, I'm joking. It's a joke.
Oh, my gosh. I was about to. But you know people that are like, I didn't really get my license until I was 18. Because why, though? Like, for us, it was the only thing that defined me as a 16-year-old.
Like, you want your independence and freedom at that age.
But some people don't want it. I don't know. I wasn't one of those guys. You weren't one of those guys.
I won't tell you how young I was when I started driving.
You're a Wyoming kid.
I'm from Wyoming.
We already know. And it wasn't even a farm thing. You were just
driving four-wheelers down Highway 89 at age 9. Nobody bats an eyelash. Riding snowmobiles to school on the
I know.
on the highway.
You were not. We had to drive our snowmobiles uphill both ways. Back in my day. Come on. Well, it's a fun part of life. It just means I'm getting old, and I'm glad. I love this process, and it serves me right because I was like it makes me have a newfound respect for my parents during that time when I was like bossy and thinking that I knew what everything was when I was 16, and I've got one of those guys now. And happy birthday, I guess. But get a job. All right?
Quickly.
My goodness. Okay. We've got an awesome program here for you. We've got tons going on. And I was lamenting before the program when I started getting grumpy about the fact that we have like 3 days before we can watch a college football playoff game. And the NFL playoffs, I always hate that the NFL, the Sunday ends and we don't even get Monday Night Football. As soon as the season's over, they just go, no Monday Night Football. We're canceling Monday Night Football.
They sneakily move it to Saturday night.
Right. We're canceling Monday Night Football because we're going to fire everybody today. All right, that's going to be our deal. So that was yesterday and then even worked its way into today. But we have tons to jump into because the world of college football already has a way, way, way too early ranking. BYU fans, get excited. Utah fans even.
Look, I love the way too early stuff, but isn't it a little too early?
No, it's never.
Do we even know what the rosters are yet?
We already made our predictions for wins and losses for BYU and Utah.
We've already got a Big
already.
12
Utah
champion
State.
prediction?
Yeah.
All right.
We might as well do
Book
it. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Give it a shot if you're starting something off this year and you want to do the meal replacement thing. I couldn't recommend it enough. So get it going. Costco Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods. And now Smith's also popping up in the refrigerated section. So there you go with the G2G Bar. Let's get things going with the cut. We'll jump in right here to top off the top of the show here. Let's do it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, this portion of the cut brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com for all your trusted local financial needs. In retirement, Trajan Wealth. Okay. By the way, did you see this got added today? The border war is back. Did you see the border war is coming back?
No.
Do you even know which college football rivalry it was? I had to refresh myself.
Well, I thought that
you thought it was a political statement
I
I was
was
making.
Wyoming, Colorado State.
Oh, okay. No. This is a way more important border.
Okay. A different border.
Coming back next year for the first time since 2011. The border war between Missouri and Kansas is back on the docket.
In football?
Yeah, man. Come on. Let's go. Your Ohio State Michigans, your Texas A&Ms, your BYU Utah. Now Kansas and Missouri are back. You know you missed it. So there you go.
Well, so many memories of all those great classic battles over the years
between
two sleeping giants.
Checks notes. Hey, but you know what? Missouri and Kansas have both been much improved over the Kansas and Missouri that you and I grew up with watching as kids, right? I mean, the reality is that
Missouri used to be the team that Nebraska and Colorado and Oklahoma would beat up on.
And you know what? The Tigers have gotten way better, and so has Kansas, frankly. And so the reality is if it's going to be a good game, it's going to be a good game. So that's what I'm hoping, is that the border war that we didn't even know was a rivalry because it hasn't been played since 2011. And that's not because of bad blood, by the way. It's just because
nobody cares.
Nobody cared. But it's going to be called the border war from now on. All right, so the way too early. Well, I don't know. Should we do that one or should we do our NFL? Because you guys made fun of one of my picks in the playoff brackets. Should we do our NFL playoff bracket first?
Let's do
all
NFL.
for it. The NFL bracket and what we have now that it's all shaken out, and for the time being, coaches are not going to take coaching. Although you know how it is. There's going to be guys who take jobs and they're going to be sitting up in the booth calling plays, knowing that they're going to be a head coach somewhere else. That's part of the deal. But the NFL bracket in the playoffs and what our predictions are going to be, we're going to set it in stone right now. And I made a prediction before the show, and I'm already pumping the brakes a little bit on it, but I'm not going to go full brake pumping on it because I don't know if it was just a moment of elation, just being excited about what these NFL playoffs could bring us. My Seahawks are not in the playoffs. Your Denver Broncos are there since, I don't know, it's the first time since
2015, 9 years.
What's crazy is that's like half of your career here.
I know. At least they won a Super Bowl during that time.
That's true. But the Denver Broncos and here's what's great about the NFL playoffs. There could be a small number next to these teams, and it doesn't matter.
No.
The only team that it might matter for is the Kansas City Chiefs and maybe the Detroit Lions. But even then, the Lions could be facing off in the second in the divisional round at home again against the Minnesota Vikings, who, if they beat the Rams and if the Buccaneers beat the Washington Commanders, then you're going to have that 1 versus 5 is going to be the. Although I think the Vikings are falling off. It's like by far the worst 14-win team in the league right now.
The two teams I'm most concerned about right now in the
Yes.
NFC are playing each other.
Yeah.
The teams that are going in a weird direction.
And it's the Rams and the Vikings. And both of them, by the way, in a weird way for LA, are having a hard time scoring points.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on with the Rams offense? Not sure.
They're too good to struggle offensively. Too good.
So let's go through and we'll make our predictions here. Let's start NFC, Minnesota and LA, firing things off in the wild card round or in the first round of the playoffs, whatever we want to call it. And by the way, wild card weekend and divisional weekends are my favorite of all the NFL. The Super Bowl does not mean nearly as much as it does the first couple of weeks of the playoffs to me. One, because of the quantity of games, the quality of games is phenomenal.
The divisional's extra special.
By the time we get to the NFC and AFC championship games, you're kind of like, okay, those are pretty good games. Let's see who gets the Super Bowl. And then the Super Bowl ends up being not nearly as fun as those first couple of rounds. But that's me personally. So my favorite round of football all year, the wild card weekend, the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams, your pick.
I'm still going with the Vikings. I actually would rather see the Rams. I love Puka, and I'm more entertained by the Rams. But something's off with their offense. They're not getting in the end zone. The Vikings' defense is really good, and I know the Vikings did not play well against the Lions offensively, and everyone's down on Sam Darnold. But remember the week before that when he was in the locker room after beating, what was it, Green Bay they beat? Celebrating, the fans had him on his shoulders and all that stuff. Like that, they had a rough week, and the Lions are really, really good. We'll get to them in a second. But everyone that's getting off the Vikings bandwagon, I don't get it. In 1 week, one bad performance, I'm big on the Vikings beating the Rams, and so is Vegas. They got Minnesota 1.5 on the road.
I don't know what. Remember last year, I think the Rams were predicted to win 3.5 games. And they obviously blew that out of the water.
Yeah, last year was a great story.
I can't remember if this year the preseason had given them that much more love either. I mean, it was still like, hey, we don't know, but it definitely wasn't the 3.5.
Everybody was on the 49ers this year.
It was still a 6 or 7 or 8 win kind of over under for the Rams. They end up winning 10 games and winning that
Sean
division.
McVay is such a great coach. Matthew Stafford is just consistently great.
Yes,
and they got weapons.
They really do.
Even without Aaron Donald, they've been good.
And I do think that I don't know, but both of these teams, as you mentioned, has been moving in the wrong direction. I'm actually going to go Rams on this one.
Okay.
Because I think that the Vikings there's something going on with Sam Darnold. Like, he's not throwing the ball well. It wasn't just the tremendous secondary performance by that Lions team.
He missed some stuff.
He was he had some bad throws,
Missed
and
a
it
wide
lasted the
open player
whole
in
game.
the end
I think he was like 17 for 42 at one point.
The numbers are bad.
I don't know what he ended with, but he was not efficient. He was not good, and he was the guy that you probably thought you were going to be getting most of the year. Congrats, you won 14 games this year, but I think that the Rams win that first round. All right, next up, the Washington Commanders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is, of course, the 3 seed. Washington's the 6 seed, but I think most people look at that and go, hold on, the Commanders, which, by the way, isn't it awesome that they're back in this spot?
Great story.
Washington having them in the playoffs, having a rookie quarterback who is phenomenal. And to see him how cool and collected he is. Like, that's the craziest part to me, when guys can get into the league and not be fidgety, and he hasn't been like that since the beginning. But I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because I got a thing, all right? I got a thing going on right now. I don't know what it is. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in the worst division in all of football, they win it, so they get that 3 seed. I think that they beat the Commanders first round, and I think that Baker Mayfield and his guys show up and at least get that first round win.
I might regret this hot take because the Bucs kind of did the same thing last year back in the playoffs because they were in the NFC South. They win the division, so they automatically get in. But they beat the Eagles in the first round.
Yes, they did.
And they didn't do terribly in the next round against the Lions. But I feel like the Buccaneers are in the playoffs by default. That does not feel good to me. The Commanders won 12 games this year. Jaden Daniels is spectacular. They're loaded with skill position players. They're really good in the trenches. Bobby Wagner brings a lot of leadership to that defense. I like their coach. I think the Commanders are going to go to Tampa. That's not an intimidating place to play. The Commanders get a win.
Okay.
And I think it'll be their first playoff win in quite some time.
That's not a hot take. I think the 3-seeded Tampa Bay Buccaneers, wink. Like, the seeding in the NFL is hard to swallow. It's just to just say, hey, you won your division, you're in.
And division wins matter.
Sure,
it
they
matters.
do. But 2 10-7 teams at 3 and 4 when you have all 3 wildcard teams that have more wins than both of those
It's
2
fair.
division winners.
It's a fair criticism.
It's kind of nuts. Now, I get you're not going to have the Minnesota. You're not going to have a 14-win 5 seed like ever again. Or if you do, it's mostly a function of we've seen 13 and 12 win wildcard teams.
Maybe they
all the
need
time.
to look at this. Maybe they do need to just seed by record once it gets to the playoffs. Allow the division winner in, but put them where they rightfully belong with their record.
Yes.
I have no problem with
Minnesota should be higher, and so should Washington. And frankly, Green Bay is better than the Buccaneers, probably.
The Bucs should be the 7 seed, the Rams the 6 seed, and that would create a whole different set of matchups.
It would, and it would probably be a little bit more along the lines of what we
We'd
would
have a
see.
4-5 Commanders-Packers game.
Don't hate it. Don't hate it.
Right.
So, but I'm still hear me out though, because I'm still on this. I've still got some ideas on how this thing's gonna roll out. Okay, next up on the bracket, that final one in the NFC down there at the bottom of the bracket between the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. 2-seeded Philadelphia, a very, very good 7-seed Green Bay Packers team. What are they going to do, though, at quarterback? Like, I don't know.
Jalen Hurts is going to play. He's still in the protocol, but they made a move today. They released one of their backup quarterbacks, which tells you that they're going to slide him in.
What's Jordan Love's situation?
I think he just got a funny bone injury.
Okay.
I think he's fine. I haven't heard anything that he's out or there's a concern there.
Is that in parentheses? Funny bone.
But they did lose Christian Watson to a torn ACL.
Yes,
so
that's
that was a big loss in the
huge.
receiving core. But they've got Josh Jacobs. They got Jordan Love. Both these teams are really nice at quarterback and running back. What's going to decide this game, I think, is defenses. Which defense is going to be better? Which defense can be more disruptive? Which defense is going to be playing better? And it's a lot to ask that Packers defense to play better than the Eagles on the road. I think the Eagles win, but I think the Packers are going to cover. It's a 4.5 spread. I think it's going to be a really, really good football game. I think it's going to be close. It'll be a heartbreaker for the Packers, though. Packers
lose, according to you. I'm going to say that Green Bay wins. Mark it down, because it's part of the rest of my narrative. I need this.
I mean, the Eagles should win, but it doesn't match my narrative. So.
No, and it doesn't. And on top of it, I mean, why? Between the Packers and the Eagles,
look, it would not surprise me.
What are they separated by one game?
Win.
Are they separated by 1 game or 2 games?
The Eagles and Packers, 2 games.
Okay, so 13 wins for Philadelphia and 11 for Green Bay. I don't think that you look at Green Bay and go, yeah, they kind of backed in. No, we knew they were a playoff team from about halfway through the season. So I think this team is built very, very well. And if they're going to get an upset, and they could do it in Philadelphia, fine. I don't know how. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be back as well, because I think they're just going to force it, right? I don't know if he's going to be 100%.
Season on
I don't know if it's
play now or not.
I don't know if he's going to be 100%, but and I'm counting on him not being 100%. So the Green Bay Packers get that win. So you're going to have what would that be in the second round?
The Lions and Packers.
It would be Lions Packers in the second round. It would be,
and you got Rams Bucks,
and it would be
in Tampa,
and it would be the Bucks in Tampa Bay hosting the Rams. And I think that's where they get that second win, because I've got the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game. Okay, so just put them all the way up in there, because I think they're going to win that one against the Rams.
You know what? If they can beat the Commanders, I think the Commanders are a tougher opponent than the Rams.
Sure.
You're absolutely right. That scenario could play out. And then if somehow the Lions get upset, the Bucs could, in that scenario, host the NFC Championship game.
Well,
that'd be crazy.
Okay. All right. Okay, so what do we have now?
Your scenario's not that crazy.
So I have
Baker
in the NFC.
Mayfield's a good quarterback. They got weapons. Mike Evans is back healthy.
Okay.
They're good.
I have in the NFC Championship game then a repeat of the divisional between the Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. Okay? And I was this close to putting the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. That is very stupid. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions going to the Super Bowl for the first time in their history.
Wow.
Okay.
So do I.
Not a bad pick.
I got the Lions going to the Super Bowl this year. I picked them to not make the playoffs this year way back in January. That was stupid. I'm an idiot. I'm going to make up for that now by saying the Lions do make it to the Super Bowl. I've got them beating the Eagles in the NFC Championship.
Hey, I don't
game.
hate that. I mean, listen, that is going to count on.
I know that's chalk. I didn't go full chalk. I had Commanders and Vikings winning in the lower games, and I'm really, really nervous about the Eagles beating the Packers.
That's gutsy to call a startup, fiery rookie, Tanner McKee, third-string guy carrying the Eagles to the NFC Championship game.
You could see him on the field on Sunday, or when is it? They play Sunday, yes. No, Saturday. That's a Saturday game.
Either way, Tanner McKee did not look bad, though. I know that he's a third-string quarterback, but
no, sorry, that's a Sunday game.
He didn't look bad. All right, that's our NFC. We only got through the NFC. so far.
We'll have to do the AFC.
We'll have to do the
back.
AFC. We'll come back. We'll do the AFC. Sorry, Alex. I know that this is. It just is. There's too much. There's too much going on.
He's grinning through the pain right now.
Look, I don't think
get to the point, guys.
I don't think anybody's mad about it. I mean, look, these are actual predictions that we've got to.
This is the funnest time of year.
It's
so much fun.
And frankly, the NFL playoffs are better than any of the playoffs. Maybe save the Stanley Cup playoffs, right?
Those are pretty wild as far as you don't know what could possibly happen. Who's going to win? Who?
Right. I mean,
an 8 seed can beat a 1 seed in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and you don't bat an eye.
There are 6 seeds that are on fire that get going, and that's exactly what happens.
We've seen wild card teams win Super Bowls, multiple.
All right. We'll come back. We got more to go. 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. Is this Andre 3000, dude? I love it, man. This still slaps pretty good. What is this from, too? Like 2005?
It's Outkast.
Oh, yeah, Outkast, yeah. Older than 2005? That's 20 years ago. Hold on.
I'm looking it up.
Hey Yeah by Outkast is, oh, shoot.
2003.
You're old.
2003. Alex, were you alive in 2003?
Well, he was, but he was in kindergarten.
Barely.
Doesn't that make you sick? Now, you know what's crazy about that is that's
so old. That was before I was working here, and I've been here for 20
college.
years.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's getting to the end of college for me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can picture Outkast in that video too. He had that green shirt with the tie and the guitar on, and the pressed hair. Yeah, oh yeah. That's back when we watched music videos, Alex. That was
Do they even make music videos anymore?
I don't think they do. If they do, no, that's not true. They have to put them on YouTube now, right? You got to put your stuff out there on YouTube, and make yourself famous. All right, hey, we got some stuff to give away. Sure, why not? Jazz Ticket Tuesday. You know what that means? Because it's Tuesday, and the Jazz, by the way, on Thursday are going to be playing host to the Miami Heat, who they just beat up down there in Miami. Courtesy of Bryce Sensabaugh. That was his 34-point game, wasn't it?
Correct.
Jeez.
And then 27 in his hometown of Orlando.
Why not
next night?
Why not steal
61 points in 24 hours, basically.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Hashtag All-Star Vote 2025. All right?
Do it. You're running out of time.
Might as well. So the Jazz, Bryce Sensabaugh, by the way, still, I don't know what his, this morning he was listed as questionable. Still questionable? Illness. So he's getting what everybody else is getting these days. All of us trying to figure out how to get through this part of the year without being sick. But Bryce Sensabaugh and the Utah Jazz on Thursday against the Miami Heat. Calling number 12 gets a pair of tickets Sunday Jazz Ticket Tuesday. We're going to be doing it every hour here. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-9663. 801-575-ZONE. Get your pair of tickets to see the Jazz and the Heat coming up on Thursday at Delta Center. So come check it out. Okay, let's jump in right here. We've got our AFC playoff matchups where we're going to make our predictors. You and I both have the Detroit Lions representing the NFC going to the Super Bowl. Who did you have? You had them playing the Eagles.
I have the Eagles. Yeah, I know it's chalk, but I just think those two teams are going to end up there at 1 and 2.
That's fine.
But I would not be surprised if the Commanders or Packers go on a surprise run.
Well, I thought that was rude that you didn't mention my pick, who were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're the 3 seed in these NFC playoffs.
You believe in Baker?
I don't, but I do think that something wild happens in the playoffs that you can't necessarily predict. And there's something about teams that nobody gives. Nobody is giving them even a shot against the Commanders. Like I don't know. I don't know what Vegas has that game. It's usually pretty close in the playoffs, but I would think that they're probably going to.
Tampa Bay is the favorite, but only a 3-point favorite at home.
And that's because they're at home. So it's essentially a push.
Right.
So I'm going to go there with the NFC. But on the AFC side of things, number 1 seeded Kansas City, of course. 2-seeded Buffalo taking on your number 7-seeded Denver Broncos. We'll start at let's do what we did last segment. We'll start with the 5-4 game. But the 6-3 is Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and the 5-4 is, of course, the Chargers and the Texans. Now, the Texans are in the playoffs, but it feels like a very different Texans team in this playoffs than they were last year, right?
They're beat up.
Yeah.
They're not the same. They've lost a lot of guys, receivers especially. C.J. Stroud does not have the weapons this time around that he had last year, and I think that's going to be a big difference. Jim Harbaugh is he's built for these situations. It feels like it's time for Justin Herbert to step up and take advantage of a playoff opportunity. I know they're on the road, but they're a favorite on the road for a reason. I think Herbert and the Chargers get it done. They beat the Texans.
I do too. I saw a stat the other day for Justin Herbert that I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. I'm going to share this on the show. He's the fastest to 20,000 yards in the history of the league.
Yeah.
On a team that has not been replete with crazy weapons at wideout.
Not been good until now.
And that should tell you about what type of a talent Justin Herbert is that he's able to throw for as many yards as he has. I'm not trying to say that it's a bunch of slouches.
Yeah, Keenan Allen's good, but he was banged up a lot, too.
Right, and haven't had him this year, right?
No.
And so there's
McConkey's been great, though. So you got to give love to the rookie.
Yeah, but who's gonna like put their money on that? Like, oh, Lad McConkey's probably gonna be
It's probably a lot to ask,
right? And so this Chargers team has
lost a lot of good players.
Yep.
They lost Eckler, but they found a way. J.K. Dobbins has been nice.
Yep.
They look good. I think they're really good.
Figure some things out. I think the Chargers win that game. Next up on the bracket, let's move the direction of that 6-3 game. The Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens for the third time this year. And that's a classic divisional matchup. The Pittsburgh Steelers are heading in a weird direction, which is not the one you want to be in the playoffs. You want to be hot right now. And the Steelers right now are just tons of question marks. You don't know what Russell Wilson you're going to get. This is a team who has not found the end zone very often in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I don't think this ends well for the Steelers. Sly spent the last 2 days trying to convince me that it's a new season, new year, slate's clean, the Steelers are going to find a way to win in Baltimore. I'm sorry. I know he's biased. The Ravens are going to win this game. Lamar is playing at a really high level right now. Russell Wilson is not. I don't trust the Steelers. T.J. Watt's banged up. They've been really, really rough. George Pickens can't catch a ball right now.
Boy.
I just can't find a reason to pick the Steelers here. And the Ravens, I have every reason to think this is the easiest pick for me. And Vegas agrees with me. The Ravens are a 10-point favorite at home over the Steelers.
Ooh.
The Ravens roll in this game on Saturday night on Prime.
Hey, kids, this is why you don't bet. I watched a guy walk to a casino and put $210,000 on the Browns covering the 20-point spread, 20.5-point spread the other day. And, of course, they won. The Ravens won by 25.
Oh, my gosh.
So, and I say this kid because he was like some, weirdo influencer who
no way
threw down he tried to put $500,000 down. The casino said you can only do 210,000.
Oh, my gosh.
The casino's like, gosh, we should have let him do it.
Yeah, what an
we would have
idiot.
made him $500,000. But $210,000 because he goes, I don't care who you are, even if who's the quarterback for the Browns? It was
Dorian Thompson-Robinson?
No, Bailey Zappi.
Oh, he was Zappi. That's right. I forgot.
Oh, Bailey Zappi. He goes, I don't care if you're Bailey Zappi. You're still going to cover the 20.5 points in the NFL. Then he did.
Oh, my gosh.
210,000. Kids, don't bet.
There's
don't
a reason
get into
why
that.
you pay attention to the starter. You
Don't
don't make
do
a
it.
bet on that. You don't bet that. You don't bet 6 figures on Bailey Zappi. Come on now.
I get it. People probably thought they were going to take their foot off the gas, right? Where they're like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Not Baltimore.
They had
Not Baltimore. Not Lamar Jackson, who's in an MVP race.
Well, they needed a win to lock it up, right?
Yes.
They still had something to play for.
And again,
Strange
like I said,
bet.
Lamar Jackson wants to prove to everybody that Josh Allen shouldn't just be an automatic MVP pick. And I know that the numbers are moving the direction of Josh Allen, but Lamar Jackson's having a heck of a freaking end of the year. So, all right, Denver and the Buffalo Bills. Oh, boy.
I'm biased. I probably have to just sit this one out. If I'm being realistic, I know that the Broncos are just happy to be here. It's the first time the Broncos have been in the playoffs since 2015.
Oh, you never want to just be happy to be there.
They won the Super Bowl.
Come on.
But here's the reality. The Bills are really good. Josh Allen is probably going to be the MVP, and it's for a reason. They're loaded. They're ready to go. They're rested. The Broncos are – I think it's just too much to ask for them to do this with a rookie quarterback on the road in the playoffs. I like the Buffalo Bills to win this game, and so does Vegas. They're 8.5-point favorites.
Is it 8.5?
It is.
These are big lines for the NFL.
These
are
two
big lines for the NFL playoffs.
These are big lines on those two games.
Well, I don't hate it. I just think that the Bills have. There's something going on here because McDermott, the head coach, Sean McDermott, has got. I mean, this is. I don't know how long.
I'm picking the Bills in spite of their head coach. I just like the vibe of this team.
I know.
Stephon Diggs, it feels like he was dragging him down a little bit. I don't know what was going on in that locker room, but this Bills team feels a lot more connected, and the talent was never the issue. It was just not getting it done in big moments, and this feels like it might be their year finally.
All right. Moving on to the next portion of the playoffs here. I have Baltimore in the next round. I've got Buffalo in the next round. I've got the only non-chalk pick there is the Chargers. It feels a little bit more like they're the better team anyway. So that would be the number 5 LA Chargers taking on and going to Kansas City in that divisional round. Kansas City and your LA Chargers. That's a nice little AFC West matchup. And by the way, if there's going to be somebody who could maybe pick off Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, why wouldn't it be an upstart Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah, and there's a lot of familiarity there, right? They've played twice already this season. The Chargers lost to the Chiefs 17-10, and the other matchup was they lost 19-17. So close games, but every game the Chiefs played this year was close. I expect the Chiefs to find a way again. The Chiefs are just too good. I know they're not as dominant as they have been. Patrick Mahomes was not a Pro Bowl quarterback this year. Travis Kelce was not a Pro Bowl tight end. They've taken a slight step back, but even their slight step back is still better than everyone else's step. The Chiefs find a way. It's going to be close, but they get it done against the Chargers. Eventually, the Chiefs, these close games, is going to come back to bite them, but not this time. They get the win over the Chargers.
Can I ask you about your guy, Bo Nix, though?
Yeah.
Is that guy, when you saw him taking the lap around Mile High, that's pretty cool, right?
That was cool.
Don't you feel like that dude?
Yep.
Aren't you just excited that, what was he, number 12 or 13 overall?
12.
12th overall pick, and, if it's not for Jaden Daniels, was there a better rookie quarterback this year? I'm losing track
Jaden Daniels, you got to give the nod to. I get it, especially more consistent throughout the year. But Bo Nix is right behind him.
How many games they win? 11?
The Broncos?
Yeah.
10.
10 games.
10-7.
Man. But
I know.
Still.
It's a big step for the franchise, and Bo Nix has given this franchise hope. You have to have a quarterback to win in this league, and you have reason to believe that they've got one. And for a rookie to play as well as he has and lead them to a first playoff in 9 years is a big deal.
Baltimore going to Buffalo then on my bracket. Playing in Buffalo, if there's going to be a team that does not care where they're playing and could go in and and steal a win, it's the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
But where do you have this one?
I hate this because I love Lamar Jackson, and eventually he's going to break through, and this Ravens team's going to win a Super Bowl with him at quarterback. But I think it's Josh Allen's turn.
Okay.
I think that the Bills get it done, and another playoff disappointment for the Ravens, who keep getting close but not quite. Last year making it to the AFC Championship and didn't show up there. Same thing is going to happen here. I think it's going to be tough. I just love the Bills. I like what they're doing, and Josh Allen's had a great year, as has Lamar. That's going to be a massive, unbelievable quarterback matchup. I think it's the two best quarterbacks this year. Apologies to Joe Burrow, who was fantastic, but on a not great team. This is going to be a great quarterback matchup. It's going to be a great team matchup, but the Bills find a way at home.
How many rushing yards did Derrick Henry end up with?
That was well over 100. I mean, for the season, 1,800 plus.
No, really, was it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, 1921.
Yeah, there you go.
Quietly rushing for 6 yards a carry and 16 touchdowns.
Everyone thought there was a lot of
they
people in the league thought he was
over.
washed.
Yeah, man.
Oh, no, he's still
Good
one of the
for
best.
him.
It was the year of the running back.
1921. That is phenomenal. Obviously everybody was talking about what Saquon was doing, but man, Derrick Henry as like an old guy, he's 31. You might as well be LeBron James 40 years old at the running back position. That's what that looks like.
He's now over 11,000 yards for his career.
Good for him. That's awesome. What an awesome comeback for him this year.
16 touchdowns
I
this
think
year.
he might be the difference maker, and I think that the Ravens upset the Bills there in Buffalo and just heartbreak. Are we going to get the usual 3.5 feet of snow like the day before the game?
Oh, lake effect. No doubt.
They were saying that in actual Buffalo, the lake effect doesn't happen. It's in Orchard Park where the stadium is.
Yes.
They end up getting, it's like the Bountiful of of New York. Or what'd you get in Salt Lake? 2.5 inches. Oh, really? What'd they get in Bountiful? 1.5 feet. Oh, man. All right, but I'm going to say the Ravens get the upset win. So it's going to be, for me, the Ravens and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game.
A repeat.
And then you're going to go Bills.
Rematch.
You're going to go, speaking of, everybody is rematching against the it's also the Bills who have
We've seen Bills Chiefs playoffs
They've
games.
lost to the Chiefs however many years in a row. So Where do you have this one then between the Bills and the
The Chiefs will continue to haunt the
Gosh,
Bills. The Bills, it's going to be another classic. But again, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, the Chiefs find a way and they get back to the Super Bowl. And what's going to be another classic AFC championship battle between those two teams.
Okay. I'm going to go Ravens with the upset
Ooh.
over the Chiefs.
So you think it's Lamar's year?
Worst 15-win team I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, stop.
Listen, I'll be the guy who dogs the Chiefs since you're trying to be as humble as possible about the AFC West. I'm going to go the Chiefs have been skating by all year, and I think they're going to run out of time. I think they're going to run out of time on this one.
Okay.
The last-minute possession thing is going to bite them in the butt. The Ravens get the 4-point win in Kansas City in 4 degrees of whatever it's going to be. It's going to be nipple.
Remember, people lost nipples last year.
It's going to be nipple-breaking weather.
City.
It's going to be nipple-breaking weather.
So keep a shirt on in KC for that one.
Don't do it.
Like you say, I do believe the Chiefs, this is going to come back to bite them, but it's not going to be in the AFC Championship game. They find a way to beat the Bills. Heartbreak, like I said, but the Chiefs will find a way to lose in the Super Bowl. The Lions are going to win their first Super Bowl ever.
Okay. I'm going to go Lions also win, but it's going to be against the
Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens. So there you go. All right, those are our picks. We'll see how close we get over the next few weeks there. And I love being able to we're going to be totally wrong, by the way.
Oh, of course.
All of these are going to be
Sorry,
wrong. Don't care.
Lions fans, I just messed
Don't
up
care.
for you.
I just love the idea of going and making these picks because the NFL is one of the hardest things to pick. All right, we'll take the break. We got a Would You Rather next. Don't want to miss any of it. Plus, we'll chat with Dr. Neff also around the corner. So stay with us. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen. Don't want to miss your chance every week right here on the KSL Sports Zone. Across the entire station all day long. We hook you up with some tickets. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. You can win a 4-pack of tickets this week to see Sebastian Maniscalco at the Maverick Center on January 17th of this year. So that's just over a week. The It Ain't Right Tour tickets are going on sale, livenation.com. Listen to the KSL Sports Zone on Wednesday for your chance to win all day long. So there you go. All right. By the way, coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to be having our buddy Jake Scott, Utah Jazz pre-half and post studio host. He's going to be joining, of course, Jake and Ben fame is Jake. Now, Jazz on a 2-game win streak, hosting the Hawks tonight. I think the Hawks are kind of middle of the. They're like a 500 team right there in the
They're
East,
in the playoff
right?
mix, though.
Yeah. So, well, if you're 500 in the East, you're in the playoff mix for sure.
They are right now in the 8th spot, 18 and 18. They're exactly what you say. They are a 500 team.
So Jazz and the Hawks tonight, and that's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a fun one because, we're all going to see now. Bryce Sensabaugh was listed as questionable. He still is. We're going to see what the performance is going to look like. You've also got the newly minted Miss America's boyfriend, Walker Kessler, in this one as well. Good for him, man. Right? Good for her. Good for him. That's one of those things where Miss America scares you if you're dating Miss America because she's already more talented than you are.
That's hard.
That's power couple right there.
Oh yeah.
And I guess they're going to be getting now. Everyone's like, well, they're getting close to getting engaged. I'm like, well, they should be darn close. I mean, if you're Walker Kessler and you haven't,
what are you waiting for, bro?
Gone to J. Brooks Jewelers yet? Like, let's figure it out, man.
Walker, when are you going to Jared?
What was the other one? There's Jared. They're the lab-grown diamond guys. Go to those two guys.
Where's the two twins, one with hair and one with not, that do the jazz stuff? Well, who are those guys?
Let's get it. They'll probably get a discount on the lab-grown diamond. Let's go.
How come I can't remember their name?
It's like Morgan & Morgan, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Is it a law
Morgan
firm?
Jewelers.
Morgan. I just gave a
law firm.
Morgan Jewelers. There you go. Oh. Okay. We'll come back. We've got more to go. Jake Scott's going to join us next. We'll talk Utah Jazz versus the Atlanta Hawks tonight, right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
You know what's coming. Your daily deep dive into everything Utah Jazz. It's time! All season long and even in the off-season, it's Jazz Daily with JJ and Alex on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Our show, as always, is brought to you by the good folks at G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the protein bar that is the G2G Bar the best. It actually tastes phenomenal, too, so go check it out. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places in the refrigerated section, so that's where you can find it. Let's kick off this hour, as we always do with the cut. We've got our own Jake Scott joining us to talk some Utah Jazz, who are firing up tonight against the Atlanta Hawks, so let's get right to it with the cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this hour, the cut brought to you by the Doug Smith family of dealerships in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and now in Linden. Dodge, Ram, Chevy, Subaru, Kia, and of course now the Mitsubishi in American Fork. He's Jake Scott. He hosts Jake and Ben every day from 10 to noon right here on the KSL Sports Zone, but also pre-half and post games for your Utah Jazz on the SEG Audio Network. Jake Scott, what's going on, man? I mean, we're supposed to be on this Bryce Sensabaugh train. Are you buying into it? I'm all over it, although he might not even play tonight.
Well, first of all, Happy New Year to you both.
Oh,
Thanks
yes, you
for having me on. Always great to be on. It's 2 games in an NBA season. So to say that somebody has arrived after those 2 games is I don't think anybody can really say that. Although he has played well lately, I think the arrow, it's pretty safe to say that it is definitely pointing up for him. I use this example on my show. Do you guys both remember the scene? Ennis Cantor got hurt. Rudy came on and was just a monster. And really, Ennis never got his spot back, right? Because we just knew that Rudy was a dude. I don't think Bryce is doing that. I don't think that's what we're watching. But he is really shooting the crap out of the ball. I'll tell you what, I didn't even know like 3/4 of the players that were playing for Orlando the other night. So I don't know how much credit you can give, for anybody beating up on that version of the Magic team. But, as we follow this story of development throughout the year with the Jazz, which is what we're doing, I think there's a lot of things to like about Bryce Sensabaugh right now, for sure.
Well, and I think, Jake, that's exactly what's happening is I think Jazz fans and everybody in this community wants to get behind something or somebody. And once you see somebody that starts to show that potential, it's exciting. Can he do this all the time? Can it be more consistent? That's obviously the next step. But this is what we want to see. Some of these guys have got to start producing at a high level in order for this thing to move forward, right?
Absolutely. And Bryce has a lot of things that you really like, He's got great size. He's got athleticism. I think he hasn't arrived necessarily as a defensive player, but I think he's got the makings of a two-way guy. There's all sorts of things to like, and I get it why people get excited about the little things. I tend to think fans live a little day to day for me, live and die with every single game. That can be an emotional roller coaster, but I think, if we want to get into the minutia, I think there's a lot of little things that are great with some of the developing young players. I mean, you guys didn't ask me about him, but Walker Kessler is the story of the year. That dude is really developing. He's a monster on the boards. He got tougher. He figured out what he had to do to be a starting big in the NBA last year. I love it when players respond to adversity. That's one of those sports cliches that's out there, but it's really true. You see somebody have a tough year. We're all rooting for somebody to bounce back and get better and respond to it because that's a very human thing. So I think Keontae has gotten a little bit better as he's gotten a little more efficient. All these guys still have their issues. Keontae is still a walking turnover, but I'd say there's a lot more positive developmental stories than negative. I don't think anybody's really failed the test. It's really too bad that Hendricks isn't playing this year. That's the great tragedy, But and maybe tragedy's too strong. He's a millionaire and he's doing fine.
Oh,
but
it's tough.
That injury was so sad because he has so much potential and setback so early in the year. That really stinks. But I think Isaiah Collier's made steps. he still can't shoot, but boy, he can do everything else, and he's really got nice size too for his position. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I think you can make an argument that most all the young players are developing. But with that said, I can't say that any of them, outside of maybe Walker Kessler, has really proven that they're a dude. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anytime we turn the corner with the calendar, it gets to 2025 now, and we're, I think, actually technically less than a month away now. It's February 6th is the NBA trade deadline, so we're less than a month away technically from. And this is what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks: is going, what does February 6th look like? What tends to be the, I guess the. What we see in that month going up to teams who are trying to get some things done, or how active do you think the Jazz not just should be, but or will end up being, I guess is kind of hard to ask, but how aggressive do they need to be at the trade deadline versus going into the offseason and the aggressiveness that needs to happen there?
Aggressive, I don't think is the right word. Not that I'm disagreeing with you, but when you think aggressive, you think like the Yankees in Major League Baseball at the trade deadline, right?
Right, or dumb front offices who just get way too like they get way too active, just thinking they have to pull all sorts of strings. That's not what we're looking at.
No, I think they will move. Well, first of all, let's start with this. If there's a big move out there, like if Jimmy Butler gets moved, which it looks like that's going to happen, the Jazz could very easily be involved in that. Not trading for Jimmy Butler, but making the trade work as a third party and facilitating the trade. You know, the Jazz with all those assets are, and so they could absolutely include some contracts like John Collins and Jordan Clarkson to certainly make some salary work, as Jimmy Butler makes. I don't have it in front of you guys, but what is it, almost $50 million? I mean, wild. And if he's going to go to a contender, they're going to have to make the salaries work, and the Jazz could very easily be involved in making that happen. Jimmy Butler trading for him himself doesn't do anything for him in any way, shape, or form. But so that I think the likelihood of that happening is pretty high. And then as far as the Jazz go, I think they'll flip any veteran that they can get decent value for. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
If there's no trading market for Jordan Clarkson, maybe he's still on the team. I think if there was a great market for him, I think they would have moved him in the off season. But if they can get something for Clarkson, I think they'll get it. The backup bigs, believe it or not, guys, I think there will be a market for those guys. I don't think it's a first rounder, but if you could send off cousin Drew Eubanks for a second rounder, you've got to do something like that. I think they would trade John Collins. I think they love how he's played this year, and really, he's a great story this year. He's been awesome. But I think if they could get, some value back for him, they would do that. He just doesn't fit in the timeline, and his contract has kind of been the poison pill in the past. But he's playing so well. You could probably talk a team into getting over that. The one I don't know about, guys, is Colin Sexton, because if it were me, I would absolutely be in the market for moving Colin Sexton. He's got a very tradable contract. I always thought the Lakers really made sense for him because he's a clutch guy, and he's exactly what kind of the Lakers need, actually, and could afford if they're still going to try and win under LeBron. But I keep hearing, and Ben's talked about this on the air because he's hearing the same thing, I keep hearing the Jazz love him. And they are they want to find a spot for him because they like his influence. And his relationship with Will Hardy last year was a fascinating story. So I think it makes a lot of sense to move Colin Sexton, but I keep hearing they want to do that. So I don't know.
Jake, I've heard the same thing, and you look at the calendar, and he's 26 years old. And he just turned 26, by the way. His timeline isn't that – it matches the youth of this team. It matches where they're going. So everything I've heard, too, is that Colin Sexton is a guy that, unless some kind of deal comes up that blows him away, is part of their long-term plans. But of the guys you mentioned, do you think John Collins is the most likely to go? It feels like he's rebuilt his trade value. He's kind of – I don't know, reintroduced himself to the league as a player that could really help a team out there that's looking to make a move that needs to add something at the trade deadline.
Wait, sum that question up one more time, Jeremiah. I'm sorry. I must that connection. You're talking about Colin?
I did mention Colin, and I heard the same thing that you and Ben are hearing about. He fits the timeline with the players in the future of the team, but I think John Collins is the guy that was likely to be moved. Do you think John Collins is the most likely guy to be moved at the deadline?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, most likely. That's interesting. For something of value, yes, I do. I mean, he's been so good.
Mm-hmm.
He's so good. He's you go and look at his numbers, and there just aren't that many players in the league right now that are doing the same thing he is. And he's proven that he can be a small ball big, which I think there's tons of value for all across the league. And remember last year when they were saying Walker and Collins can't play together? Well, how did that turn out? So apparently John Collins, and I say apparently, but he's an extremely versatile player, way more than I think a lot of us thought. And so I think a lot of teams could use him. So in answer to your question, yeah, I think probably.
Think about the return on investment on that, too. I mean, you think about the day that he came to the Jazz and how little that the team had to, kind of put up to get this guy versus what they're going to end up getting in return, too.
Yeah.
Right. Which is the idea. You flip that. You got to flip it forward, right? I heard DJ and PK talking about how they turned Jose Ortiz into eventually Jeff Hornacek, Like you got to, if you can keep building that asset and not let it become a dead asset, that's what was so bad about Gordon Hayward leaving for nothing, right?
Right.
Is that number 9 Knicks pick that everybody talked about for like a decade that became Gordon Hayward ended up just being, a dead asset that left for nothing.
Jake Scott, Jake and Ben, of course. You can hear him every day. And then tonight, in just a couple of hours, you're going to also be able to hear him on the half and postgame shows on the SEG Audio Network. As you guys kind of go through, and it is hard for us even as I don't know, it gets easier, I think, for you who has years and years and years of experience to be able to go, I'm not going to live day to day on this thing. And it's still hard not to a little bit go, all right, what's going on with this team? But last 2 games have been nice for the Jazz. What's the rest of this week look like as you've got the Hawks coming in tonight and then you have the Heat coming in, I think, on Thursday as well. So this is a good-looking week, I think, for the Jazz, who are on a little bit of a tear here. When you don't want to see them winning a ton of games, you do like to see them have the success that they're having right now.
Oh, I think they're going to be underdogs in pretty much every game they play. Locke had a stat. I can't remember. This must have been a couple of weeks ago that the Jazz hadn't been favored in any game yet this season. And I don't know if that's still true, but that's kind of funny. I mean, like if the Hawks play their guys, they should win easily, right? Especially with the Jazz potentially missing some. I thought the Heat looked terrible last Saturday. Yeah. I mean, really, really bad. So
that team has issues.
Yeah, if that's the team that shows up on Thursday, then certainly the Jazz could win. But listen, guys, especially after the trade deadline, the Jazz are going to lose a ton of games. I like the tank note people that get caught up and are actually mad at every win is so silly. It's so silly and backwards, and I don't even blame them. I blame the NBA. But if you guys look at the standings, look, they're not going to finish better, worse? How do we even put it? They're going to finish with the 5th worst record in the league or worse, almost guaranteed. Especially now that Zion comes back for the Pelicans, like right. They're not going to be that bad going forward. And after the trade deadline, I mean, I've watched it for the last few years. The Jazz are going to lose a zillion games, and honestly, it's like if you go back and look at the history of it, the team with the worst record in the league rarely gets the number 1 pick. Detroit's had the worst record in the league for the last 3 or 4 years. Jeremiah, you might remember.
They've been bad for the last 3 or 4 years, and they think they won it once when they got Cunningham.
Well, but even when they were bad last year, what did they end up, 5 or 6? So it's not even like not getting the number 1. It's like you're way back.
Yeah, you're not guaranteed anything. Atlanta, speaking of Atlanta, they got the number 1 pick last year. What was the odds of that happening? And I'm just saying.
They had the least possible odds.
It was like 3%, yeah. 1.5 or 3.
There's nothing in this whole silly thing that is guaranteed. So I get it. You don't want to be in the middle. I get it that you'd rather be bad than average. That makes sense. Again, I think that's totally silly, but that's the NBA's fault. But considering the randomness of it all, how silly is it to get caught up in every win and loss? That's ridiculous. They're going to have the 5th worst record or worse. It's almost a guarantee. And so if they sneak up on the Heat one night, or if they beat the Magic one night, you know what? Enjoy it, because it doesn't matter. Every loss doesn't matter like that. And don't worry I love it that it's a conversation like, oh, does this guy make them too good? No, is the answer. No. They're like, I don't care who you're talking about. No. They're going to be fine, whatever that means. Fine means bad. Again, what is this, the 80s? Bad means good? What? How does it work? Fine, bad? Anyway, they're going to suck. They're going to have a crappy record. They're going to get a good pick, and it's going to be really random as to whether it's the first pick or the 7th pick. But honestly, there's nothing you can really do about that on the grand scale, let alone nitpick about some, I can't believe they won that game. Settle bit. Simmer down. Simmer down.
It doesn't make sense to say, I can't believe they won that game. It doesn't make sense to say, I can't believe that they're so terrible this year. It's like, all right, relax. Everybody needs to stop preaching that gospel either way. You got to find some sort of a middle ground.
I agree, Jake. It's the NBA's fault. I hate, and this should never be the case in any sports league or any sports competition. You should never be incentivized to lose, ever.
Nope.
That goes against the entire spirit of what we're doing here. And unfortunately, the NBA's created a situation, and I don't know what the solution is, so I can't sit here and criticize it too much, but you cannot have a league that is built on a third of the teams in the league or more sometimes trying to lose in order to get better. That makes no sense to me.
Nope. And I'll tell you what the NBA's solutions so far, like expanding the playoff and flattening the lottery odds, haven't done jack. It hasn't done anything. I mean, I've got some ideas, but my ideas are considered so revolutionary. It's almost not even worth saying because it's never going to happen. I wish they'd get rid of the draft altogether. I actually think it'd be way better. And if you are going to do a draft, I think you make it totally random. Just totally spit it out, shotgun, spit it out random. Could have the first pick, could have the last pick. Who knows? But, the thing about getting rid of the draft entirely, it would actually be to you'd think like, oh, the Jazz would never get another player again. I don't think so, because you have to – if the Jazz paid Cooper Flagg ridiculous money, I mean, just way more than anyone out there could possibly pay him because they have the payroll to do it, the cap space to do it, he's coming to Utah. It actually would work out way more in Utah's favor. Like the Lakers can't pay everyone. We're finding that out about college football, right? Like these SEC teams can't pay everyone. Nobody's, you're going to even out the talent a little bit. I think they get rid of the draft and just have it be a free-for-all. Go sign rookies. Sign whatever rookies you want. Sign a whole team full of rookies. Who cares?
Well, the way that we're handling AAU basketball, why don't you just go to the academy model that the soccer teams do across the pond? Like, let's stop pretend like they're recognizing these kids at 14 and 15 are stars. Like, get them into your academies. Like, do it that way. Like, do something different than what we're doing right now because it just irritates the heck out of me that half the league is incentivized to lose.
Well, so who's right then when they talk about, Jake, the entertainment value and where the ratings are with the NBA? Is Chuck right? Is JJ Redick right? When you saw that conversation back and forth, I think we all looked and went, well, there is something broken for sure when it comes to the TV watching because it's kind of been it's a tough product.
Neither one was right. And the sommelier, that's my nickname. For
the sommelier.
He's never right about anything. I'll tell you my opinion on the ratings are down because the regular season doesn't mean anything. The players don't care about regular season games. The teams don't care because they don't play their players. Like, that's why should I tune in and watch? I have no idea what I'm getting. And if the teams playing don't even care, why should I? I think that's the problem. The regular season doesn't mean anything. The playoffs, we've put in all of the value on championships and playoffs, and we've taken away all the meaning from the regular season and what used to be the traveling basketball show, and we've put it all on the playoffs. So, I mean, college basketball is actually the most egregious example of this. We don't care about regular season college basketball in the slightest. Only the basketball nerds care. The rest of the public does not care at all until March.
Yep.
And that's really a shame. And the same thing's happening to the NBA. But the problem with the NBA is it's not the fans that don't care. It's the players and the franchises. That's where the load management comes from. It's, let's rest them in the regular season when the games don't matter so we can play them in the playoffs when they do. Well, if I'm just a sports fan, why the heck am I tuning in to Thursday TNT when I, A, don't know who's playing, And B, it's a game that you basically tell me doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
Why would I tune in? I used to tune in, in the 90s and 2000s to a nationally televised game. You guys played the NBC, round ball roundup or whatever coming into the segment. Well, dang it, if the Bulls were playing the Knicks on NBC on Sunday, we knew that all those guys were always playing.
Michael Jordan versus Patrick Ewing was an event.
Right. If it was the Rockets and the Suns in 1996, I was there, man, on a Sunday.
You're watching that. You want to see it because the guys are going to play. 100% agree with you.
And now we have no idea. And I think it's a shame, but I don't think it has to do with politics. I don't think it has to do with distribution. No. I don't think it has to do with any of that. I think it has to do with they devalued the meaning of regular season games. And the players know it's devalued. The coaches know. And speaking of tanking, this is part of the problem too. If you're not trying, if you're trying to lose, why would the casual fan tune in? Now, again, hardcores like us are going to watch development, and we're going to see how Keontae George goes and how he doesn't turn the ball over, or he does, or we'll find these interesting little nuggets. But you know what? The normal basketball fan doesn't care. Isn't going to tune in for that. So I think it has everything to do with them devaluing their moneymaker, the bread and butter.
Yep, people tune in to watch football all the time, college and pro, because they're events. Every game is an event. Everything matters. You can't say that about the NBA regular season.
Well, don't worry, because I was telling JJ before we came in to the studio today. I was like, and I said, hey, I got the billboard that says here are the 9 guys from the Jazz I should be voting for. I had a picture of all the guys. I thought, I don't know if that's going to go that direction. And I know that the Jazz, I know they want to pump their guys up, but wrong direction. Obviously, it's we're not going to see a lot of All-Stars in the state of Utah this year. But hey, throw your vote in there. Might as well. You get your voice as a fan, so you might as well do it. He is Jake Scott. You can hear him pre-half and post coming up. I think at 6 o'clock is when we're going to get the start. So Jake's going to be coming in and getting this thing done. And he and the coach, of course, do a phenomenal job and getting everybody ready for the game and then getting you going at halftime and then breaking it all down afterwards. So, Jake, we appreciate it, man. As always, you're the best. Thanks for coming on the program, man.
Thanks, Jake.
Hey, looking forward to seeing a gaunt Quinn Snyder in the building again tonight.
Hey, a gaunt. You don't think he's put on some LBs? Come on, man.
The mad scientist.
All right, Jake. We'll see you, man.
Jake.
Thanks. There you go. Jake Scott, everybody. All right. A gaunt. I'm worried about him. Has he had a meal today? He had a meal. Take him over to Valters. Have him have 2 meals.
Well, he needs to come get some Crown Burger. He's in town tonight.
I know.
Then, so yeah, go to Valters too.
Valters.
Get some good
the old school.
get some
going.
pasta.
Come on, man.
Really good food. At
Get
Valters.
the Osteria and they throw they don't go light on the butter. And the truffle. No. Let's go. All right. Appreciate Jake. Yeah, 6 o'clock is your pregame right here on the KSL Sports Zone. You can listen to that. All right. We'll come back. We've got more to go. Stay with us right here on the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to turn the corner and get a few more conversations in there. Yes, we will have our college football way too early 2025 top 10 ranking.
It's never
the season's not even over yet, JJ. Doesn't matter. We still have 4 teams in this thing. You may have found your team already in the preseason top 10 before the preseason has even begun. So stay with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Honorary Utah Posty. Does he still live in Utah? Does he still do the...
very much in Utah.
Okay.
He showed up at the Fat Cats in Bluffdale.
Of course he did.
A lot of locals got a shot, a picture taken with them.
99-cent bowling. What are you going to do, man?
I don't blame Posty for going there and doing that. And he recently gave a $20,000 tip.
I saw that to a waitress.
Single mother waitress.
Yeah, awesome.
It's pretty cool.
You can diss Posty as much as you want. That guy knows how to do it, man.
Like, you can have your opinions on his music or whatever, but I got to give it. The dude is he's just a good dude.
He may be high a lot of the time, but you know what?
Not going to judge him.
He throws those tips out.
Not going to judge the chemicals he puts in his body, but from all accounts, the dude is just nice as can be.
You made it sound like it was a cup of coffee or a Monster.
Doesn't he even sing a song about chemicals or something?
No, he doesn't. I don't think.
He does.
I don't think rappers do that. I think they usually are just guys like him. They just talk about the straightforward fun times I like to have in life. Why would they talk about chemicals? Drugs? What are those? Never heard of them.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I was trying to think about, because we have this way too early top 10. And if you're wondering, and it is more important now to be in the early editions of the rankings that come out in college football. It's just it is what it is. College basketball is almost a perfect system. You know why? Because you don't have to be perfect. And if you're not very good at the beginning of this, in the offseason, and then suddenly you blow it up, BYU basketball last year, I'm looking at you. Guess what? You can still find yourself being a 6th seed in the tournament, right? After having a really, really good year, because the proof is in the pudding. And by the way, you also don't have to have a perfect season. And not even close. We were talking about how BYU went 10-8 last year. Phenomenal. Tied for 5th in the Big 12. 5th in the Big 12, 6th seed in the Big Dance. Why? Because that's how difficult it is to be in the Big 12. Now, college football is different, because if you are a preseason ranked team, because this leads to the preseason ranks that lead to the preseason rankings, to the legitimate AP preseason rank that comes out the week before the season. If you don't think that that's the case, then you're nuts. But here is what an actual, well, and again, take this with a grain of salt, but I will tell you that when you have like On3 putting this list out, you don't think that the AP or the coaches poll people or whomever start to look at this thing. This is the top 20, or this is the top 10 of 2025. And the graphic they have up there is Arch Manning with the Texas uniform on.
Interesting. Quinn Ewers still has eligibility.
Yes, he does, and he'll probably be playing for the number 2 ranked team in this preseason poll, by the way.
Uh-huh.
Number 1 on the preseason poll for On3 for the 2025 season in college football, Texas, number 1. Number 2, Oregon. Stop me if you've heard this list before, all right? Ohio State, 3. Penn State, 4. Okay? Notre Dame, 5. Georgia, 6. South Carolina, 7. Clemson, 8. Florida, 9. And Auburn, 10. Okay?
Way to go out on a limb there, folks.
Well, it is
Florida, 9.
No.
Auburn, 10.
It is out on a limb. It is out on a limb. That is stupid. Florida, Billy Napier only loses 5 games this year, so he gets extended. Florida goes to number 9 on the list. Auburn hasn't been anywhere near the top 10 in years, and they're number 10 in the preseason poll. Why?
And Clemson won the ACC almost by default.
South Carolina is like the only shock on this list.
They backdoored into the championship game.
South Carolina is the only shock, quote unquote, on this list at number 7. And the reality is that they probably have more business being there than even Georgia does right now. Or Clemson for sure. Certainly more than Florida and Auburn. I mean, South Carolina had a legitimately good season this year, and they had 3 losses. And they were on the cusp of being in that conversation. They weren't there, but maybe they turned that corner. Now, notice any absence of any particular conferences on here. So you have, let's just count out the numbers. Texas, Big SEC. Oregon, Big 10. Ohio State, Big 10. Penn State, Big 10. So you've got 3 out of the top 4 are Big 10 teams. Texas in the SEC, number 1. Notre Dame, independent. Georgia, SEC. South Carolina, SEC. Clemson is the only non-ACC or the only non-SEC or non-Big 10 team in this entire thing, aside from Notre Dame.
And
right?
everyone basically includes Notre Dame in that caliber of.
For sure. I told you that my favorite hoodie right now this year is Catholics versus the conferences.
Yeah.
Catholics versus the conference. That was a pretty smart one. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you buy that one up because you go, look where we are, man. And you know what? This might be the first year that I look at Notre Dame and go, yeah, why not? Now, I don't know who their quarterback's going to be, but I will just say this right now. Riley Leonard is not like some.
They could go out in the portal and get someone better.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe Quinn Ewers goes there.
Maybe.
You think Notre Dame doesn't have the dough to get it? Absolutely. If Quinn Ewers goes to Notre Dame, put him at number 2. Might as well. Because we're not doing anything except for just guessing on the biggest names. And if you are one of these blue bloods, which one is not a blue blood in this list? Okay? The only one that's not a blue blood on this list is South Carolina And I don't know. What do you consider? Who do you? Is Clemson not a blue blood? They have more natties.
No, they are.
Right, they are a new blue blood, right?
Right.
South Carolina is the only name on this list that is not like in the.
Clemson won a natty a long time ago. They have a tradition.
Right.
Like they're a blue blood.
But Florida and Auburn.
They've won national titles. Blue bloods.
Yes. Put them in there. But Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, like, come on. Those are all the same people. These are all the same people. What makes you think that Oregon getting rid of Dylan Gabriel is going to be amazing? Well, because you probably think they're just going to do the set it and forget it thing they do every year in the offseason, which is just go and get another quarterback, pay him $4 million, and then boom.
They have a blank check.
Uncle Phil shows up and saves the day again.
What elite quarterback in college football right now wants to make more money? Oregon's ready.
Okay.
They have a check ready to go.
I would love to say that the talking heads or the Andy Stapleses of the world or the Ari Wassermans who put this list together, for example, are the ones who are just, the rich get richer here. But what makes you think that the Big 12 has a team that should be on this list?
Who's the team?
You would think it'd be Arizona State, except for they were
Cam Scadaboo's gone.
They were picked 16th the beginning of last year. And by the way, we were all burned by Oklahoma State and Utah.
Yeah, we were.
So why would they put their neck out there for teams that could very well finish dead last in their conference after being picked to finish first or second?
Who's your way too early favorite in the Big 12 right now?
Oh my gosh.
Doesn't it feel it feels way too early.
Yeah, but if you're really gonna put me to it, I still think Arizona State is gonna have some fire because there's something you can't replace with the coaching of a guy like Kenny Dillingham. That sounds insane to say because you have guys like Mike Gundy and Kyle Whittingham that are, proven.
And why can't those two schools bounce back?
I don't know.
Iowa State brings Rocco Beck back.
Right, and why wouldn't Iowa State or why wouldn't even a Kansas who underperformed but scared the dickens out of everybody at the end of the year be at the top of that list?
Who was playing the best football in the conference at the end of the year?
It was Kansas. Well, Arizona State.
Here's another team no one's talking about that should because their quarterback returns and he put up big numbers. TCU.
Oh, Josh Hoover.
Really good. And BYU, they're going to be highly motivated to finish what they started. They're only losing 4 big names to the NFL. They should be back. Jake Retzloff it's quietly. We haven't even talked about it. I don't know if he felt like he needed to or if anybody felt like he needed to, but he just announced on social media that he's running it back with BYU next year. So BYU's bringing back a loaded roster.
Why not? Why not be in there? Why not be in that conversation?
And what does Colorado do to, after losing 2 of the best players in college football, how does Coach Prime reload them?
Speaking of scary quarterbacks, how about Sawyer Robertson?
And Baylor.
Who bounced back huge. Guess what his numbers were? He threw for 3,200 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. That's a guy, and by the way, he wasn't even the starter at the beginning of the year, okay?
I understand what On3's doing here, and they're playing the hits, and the Big Ten and the SE fans get them clicks. I get what they're doing here. There will be 1, maybe 2 Big 12 teams in here by September. We're going to be like, okay, the Big 12 is going to bounce back next year. I shouldn't even use the word bounce back because I don't think the league had a bad year. But there's going to be some teams that emerge that are elite.
At what point does USC suddenly make a hilarious return to these top 10 or the top 25 lists? I guess if it were a top 25, you'd probably see USC in that.
Right. For sure.
I'm
actually surprised that On3 didn't put USC at 9 or 10.
But see, why wouldn't BYU get a preseason top 25 ranking, considering who's coming back?
They should.
Right?
100%.
The end of the season
will be a top 25
I don't know
team
what I don't know what the end AP poll is going to bring for this team after everything shakes out, but they were 17th, and then they're going to go into this thing. They're probably going to be in that 13-14 range to end the season.
BYU, Iowa State, probably TCU, maybe Arizona State, and then maybe one more
Baylor.
team.
Maybe Baylor.
Because last year we had 5 teams ranked in the top 25 pretty much the whole way. Maybe Kansas State. Avery Johnson's back. There's some teams in the Big 12 that were young this year that we don't talk about. There's a lot of quarterbacks returning this year, a lot.
Yep.
And then Utah brings in Devin Dampier. Who knows what Utah can be? Utah could turn things around if the offense clicks.
All right, let's take another break here. So there you go. Your top 10, just an absolute shock on some of these teams.
Not really.
No, not at all. Just replete with the SEC and the Big.
Which
Big
teams
10.
can write the biggest checks? Just put them in order. That's how you figure out the top 10.
And you know what? Might not be wrong. Might not be a dumb thing to go off of. I don't know. Maybe that's what we need to do. Find on threes way too early. Top 10 from last year. See how dumb they were. Maybe that. I don't even know if it exists, but we're going to try to find it. All right, we'll come back. We got more to go. Tons around the corner. Stay with us. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Neglected to hand out some tickets for Jazz Ticket Tuesday in the last segment. I want to do it right now. So, if you want to get Jazz and Miami Heat tickets coming up for Thursday on January 9th at Delta Center, give us a call right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-9663. And you get tickets, a pair of tickets to Jazz and the Heat, no questions asked. You don't have to win a contest or anything. You just have to be calling number 12, 801-575-ZONE. That's for a January 9th ticket. That's Thursday against the Heat. All right. Yeah, my goodness. Hey, we got some pretty darn good basketball games going on here in college basketball. You got BYU versus Texas Tech. That's in Provo, right? This is going to be back at home.
That's a home game.
Boy, they need this one at Delta Center. You and I were just talking about how this is a huge one because you don't want to lose serve at home. You got to maintain winning these games at home if you're going to lose games like you did at Houston.
I think if BYU makes the tournament, Alex, they've got to win almost all but one or two games at home because they're clearly not the same team on the road. And to even this out and to be in that position, they're going to have to really dominate at home. And they started off great with Arizona State last week, but they got to do it again tonight against Texas Tech. They've got to make that place a fortress.
I watched the majority of that Baylor-Iowa State game on Saturday.
Yeah.
Iowa State is nothing to mess with already, and then you get them at home, which is what the Utes are going to be doing. That's a rough game for the Utes to go into Iowa State.
They're going to Ames tonight.
That's tough.
And it's going to be nationally televised.
That might be. I mean, listen, BYU fans, you go to Houston, lose by 30. Baylor went to Iowa State and lost by 25. It was 30
Baylor's
most of the game.
Baylor was a top 25
and Baylor was a top
team.
25 team. So Utah's got a tough one. Utah State in action at San Jose State tonight. They're going to look to remain undefeated in Mountain West play. And not only that, just like continue this amazing run they've had so far.
They're in the top 25 now. They're looking at a 6-7 seed right now.
But going on the road's hard. Going on the road's hard. Doesn't matter where you're going. Unless it's San Jose State.
Well, you know what's hard about going to San Diego State is there's no atmosphere there.
It's San Jose, right?
Right.
San Diego State, you'd have an atmosphere. San Jose State.
No, not the same state.
Not the Spartans. So that's a good one to be able to go in there and maybe steal one and walk away. But BYU taking on Texas Tech, Utah State at San Jose State, and then Utah on the road at Iowa State. I think Florida and Tennessee are facing off tonight. One loss between those two teams, number 1 and number 8 in the country. And so good basketball tonight, good college basketball games to be played. This is when we turn the calendar year over.
Duke Pitt tonight as well.
Duke Pitt.
Go watch Cooper Flagg, Jazz fans. Right, he's on right now.
Don't do that to us. Come on. Don't get me too excited. Don't you dare give me hope, JJ. How dare you? Hey, go watch Cooper Flagg. See who he's going to end up on, which team he's going to end up on at the end of this one. Come on. I really hope it happens for the Jazz, but it's just so hard. Just so hard to try to hang your hat on that. We'll come right back. We've got more to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Yes, it is that time of the show again here for us. We've got tons going on the program. And, of course, it's not enough for us to be able to cover the Utah Jazz, who are firing off tonight pregame is going to be starting up here at the top of the hour, 6 o'clock. But, of course, the Utah Hockey Club has been just such a breath of fresh air for us to be able to cover as well. So tons going on in that respect, and we get the coaches on. We get Coach Bear on every week, and we're able to get these players on periodically. And we have a phenomenal time being able to work out things to know about this hockey club. It was a disappointing one again in Dallas the other day because it was so just back and forth.
I had a chance to get a road W against one of the best teams in the NHL.
And I'm watching this thing, and I'm just like, just don't. It's just such a close
heartbreak.
You feel it too when it's happening, and I get it. You get a point for the overtime loss, but man, it was rough to watch that one in Dallas. And this Utah Hockey Club just keeps getting so close. They're on the cusp of turning so many corners, and they're doing such a phenomenal job in so many respects. And then there's these close games that are tough to watch. But let's kick off the program as we always do. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. Make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs that quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Let's kick things off with the cut right here, and we'll talk more hockey clubs. Get right to it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And the cut this hour brought to you by Trajan Wealth for all your local trusted financial needs in retirement. It is TRAJAN Wealth.com. Trajan Wealth. David Dwork covers the Florida Panthers for the NHL and the NHL for Hockey News. The Utah Hockey Club has been a breath of fresh air for us, David. So thanks for joining us on the program. And Bear even brought up, Coach Bear Tourin, he brought up how, man, they wish they could be as collective as a team as this Florida Panthers team. Thanks for joining us on the program. It's good to have you for the first time ever.
No, happy to come on. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, first thing, we ask all these journalists across the country that covered the NHL for a while and what their thoughts are on this new Utah Hockey Club and the impact it's having on the league and the importance of the stability that the franchise now has after moving from Arizona. What you've talked to a lot of people around the league. What do people think about this move?
A lot of positivity so far. Obviously, from the top, and the ownership has been completely committed and amazing welcoming the club to Utah from at least an outside perspective. It's looked like a really stable and enriching environment. The players seem really happy, and it seems to be translating onto the ice. Personally, I'm a goalie. I kind of pay attention to the goaltending around, so I've been very impressed with what's happened in Utah. Obviously, I've been a big fan of Amelka for the last few years, so it's nice to see him getting a little bit of support. And it's just a great situation. At this point, I'm just excited to see if and when they hit the playoffs, what the name's going to be.
Obviously, the Florida Panthers are a team people look up to when you talk about now a championship, progeny, and this is a team that's now won 24 games on the season, and they're one of these teams in the East that will always be kind of a threat. I mean, when they have the type of talent that they do. Let us know a little bit about what this Florida Panthers team is this year and what they represent and what they're doing on the ice that makes them so impressive.
It's really been a continuation of what Paul Maurice has been implementing with the Panthers the last couple of seasons, and that's an aggressive five-man defensive unit that's going to forecheck. They're going to put you on your heels, and they're going to try to force you to be uncomfortable. And basically it's playing a playoff brand of hockey year-round. And it's something that, at first we were questioning whether or not the team was going to be able to maintain the kind of energy level required to play this brand of hockey from, for 82 games and then beyond. But obviously they've done it quite well. It's worked out well for the Panthers. Now it's just kind of putting things into muscle memory, building the roster to be a bit more deep, which is what they've been hoping to do from last year to this year, particularly with the forwards. And it's been good for the Panthers so far. The question will be, in terms of the future, how long is the goaltending going to hold out? Because you've got Sergei Bobrovsky, who's in his elder years now. They've got Spencer Knight, who they're hoping is going to be the heir apparent, the next guy, and he's starting to take those steps this season. But still a ways to go down that path. But overall, all the credit in the world has to go to Bill Zito, the general manager. Ever since he got hired in September of 2020, just move after move after move. That's paid off well, and that's built the Panthers into this perennial cup contender that they are right now.
Deep team, obviously the Stanley Cup defending champions, but if you're going to be the best, you got to have one of the best players in the league. And Sam Reinhart, obviously Matthew Tkachuk's one of the best wingers, but I wanted to ask about Sam Reinhart. 22 goals this season, 46 points overall if you add in the assists. Has he gotten even better this year?
What's really impressive about Sam Reinhart is, obviously everybody pays attention to the goal scoring and the numbers that he puts up, but he's arguably as good of a two-way player as is Sasha Barkov, who is like this perennial, the lead Selkie guy right now. Reinhardt's just such a great all-around player. This year, in addition to his goal scoring, he leads the NHL in shorthanded goals. His value on special teams, not just on the power play, but as well on the shorthand, it's really unmatched. In the minutes that he plays, able to be put into, he takes face-offs. He just does it all for the Panthers, and I don't know if he's being talked about enough on a league-wide scale just because of how valuable he is to the team. So it's good to hear you guys asking about him, that he's getting that kind of attention, but it's just been unreal. And the fact that he just signed this massive extension at much lower of a number, in my opinion, than he would have gotten on the open market, it just kind of ties back into what I was saying about Bill Zito and what he's built here in South Florida.
What's it look like in the NHL for teams who win the Stanley Cup and just the difficulty of trying to repeat? It's one thing because I mean they're back-to-back conference champions, going to the Stanley Cup final, losing it, going to the Stanley Cup final, winning it, and then trying to put all that back together again year after year. It seems like the NHL. I mean, we cover the NBA, we talk a ton about the NFL and all these other major leagues across the country in American sports, and it just seems like the National Hockey League is difficult in so many aspects, and certainly trying to string year after year success is one of those deals. How can the Panthers get back to that level again, and how much more difficult is it in the NHL to be able to do that?
I think generally it's been pretty hard, but it's hard to argue. You can kind of argue against that point just because you look at the Eastern Conference. You've had two teams represent the East in the last 5 Stanley Cup finals, so you could say, well, maybe it's not that hard. But obviously, that maybe there's something in the water here in Florida. I don't know. That's another conversation for another time. But the way that the Panthers have been able to maintain it over the last few years, considering the different years they've had, like Paul Maurice's first year, they squeak into the playoffs as an 8th seed, as the 16th team into the playoffs, and then they go on that incredible run to the final that, they got a lot of injuries. They lost to Vegas. And then next season, which was last season, they have this amazing regular season. They're built incredibly deep. They're getting contributions from across the lineup. Bobrovsky has maybe arguably his best season with the Panthers, and they make it to the mountaintop. They win the Stanley Cup. Now this year, roster turnover, a lot of new guys come in. Bobrovsky struggles the first half of the year. They have to, I'd go with the whole Stanley Cup hangover, the phrase, whatever. I'm not thinking of the right term. The Stanley Cup hangover idea that's out there, and all that on top of the fact that they're facing every team's best every single night because they are the defending champs. So I think when you kind of compartmentalize each season as an individual, it's a little easier not to get wrapped up into the routines and we're doing it year after year because it's also different for them. So it'll be curious to see how it all plays out once we get towards the playoffs. You mentioned the Panthers now, an annual playoff team that's kind of assumed, which, for any longtime Panther fan would be like, wow, that's an amazing thing to hear right now after the first 25 years of the franchise. But it'll be cool to see how it plays out just because of the way Paul Maurice has led this team so well, and they've got such a good locker room. They're all, the continuity's there. So I'm just kind of anxious to see when we get to the playoffs how it plays out for them. And
what does Matthew Tkachuk bring to the table for them? We talked about Sam Reinhardt's role, and you've mentioned some other guys. How important is Matthew Tkachuk to what they do?
He's basically like the emotional leader of the team. He does a little bit of everything. He's going to be the first guy that gets into a scrum or that starts something in that regard, but he'll also score a huge goal for you. He's basically their Swiss Army knife of a player. He might not be the fastest guy or he might not be the best defensive player, but Matthew Tkachuk is your locker room guy that you love to have. This year, maybe a little bit of a slow start in the scoring side. Not that dissimilar to last year. Last year he was coming off the surgeries. This year he just maybe a little bit of a slower start overall. But Matthew Tkachuk, he's the guy that when you're on the other team looking at the Panthers, he's somebody that you're going to be circling as a target just because he can do so many different things well on the ice. And on top of that, he's just a great teammate. Everybody loves him. And one thing that I think he enjoys that maybe doesn't get a lot of attention. He seems to really enjoy getting under the skin of the opponent's goaltenders. Not to the point where he's doing anything or anything dangerous, but he does a good job of really keeping them, maybe just so they have an eye, the corner of their eye on him at all times, which a little bit of their attention, maybe you're going to help your team score. So just overall, he just does a little bit of everything for the Panthers, and he's very vital to this team's success.
In the Eastern Conference, of course, the Panthers are one of those teams that are scoring a lot of points and winning a lot of games, which is to be expected from, a Stanley Cup defending champion and also the last two Eastern Conference champions. But it's a tough one. I mean, this is hitting the road is never easy. I think for a team who's got to come out far east. Obviously, you saw or from really far out east there. Obviously, taking on the Avalanche, that was a tough one. What's the difficulty of playing in a place like Colorado and then turning things around and having to play against teams like Utah right after that as well? Because it's not easy to hit the road, and Utah certainly had to find that early in the season as well.
Especially at elevation.
Yeah, the Panthers, fortunately, they've been one of the better road teams in the NHL over the last few years, so I think they kind of pride themselves on going out there and getting into those kind of team camaraderie situations and taking advantage of whatever the road might give them. But coming into tomorrow's game, brand new building, nobody's ever played in there before from the Panthers, and you're coming off a game, as you guys mentioned, against Colorado. It was a tough one for Florida. They were playing without two of their top four defensemen, Aaron Ekblad and Nico Mikkola. Both missed that game. They're both questionable for tomorrow's game against you guys. So it'll be a tough test just coming off, as you guys know, the waves of attack that Colorado has. And then when you enter Utah, you guys, a lot of speed on the outside, something that the Panthers, if they can get either one of both of their defensemen back, will be a tough challenge. And additionally, just great goaltending generally that Utah has had throughout the year. Florida, they've had, I think, 4 losses in their last 6, 2 of which were via the shutout. So while they have been one of the league's best scoring teams this season, as you mentioned, I think 4 of their last 6 losses have been via shutout. So it's been a little bit of a strange thing for the Panthers in terms of the way that they get to the net. It's something Paul Maurice pointed out that they needed to work on a little bit in order to get back to the scoring that they've had. So we'll see what they can bring tomorrow night against the hockey club from Utah. I'm excited to see the game and to get the series started.
Delta Center is going to play host for the first time ever in the franchise's history here in Utah. Host to the Stanley Cup champions and host to the Florida Panthers all in one night. You knock it all out in one night right there. So David Dwork, he covers the Florida Panthers and the NHL for The Hockey News. David, we appreciate it, man. We're looking forward to chat with you again when these teams come back together again. Next time when they're down there in Florida, maybe we'll jump on it as well. But thanks for hanging out. We always just love the education that we're getting this year now that we're the home of the hockey club here on the radio side of things. So we love it, man. We appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
No, my pleasure, man. Soak it up, fellas.
Thank you.
There you go.
We're enjoying it.
Look, it's been fun, man. Does the video? I hope the visiting media doesn't just get a 1-goal obstructed view. Do they?
No.
I'm just kidding. Visiting media, straight to the top. You're sitting over in this corner. No, we want
sit
those
up
guys
there by the Western Conference champion.
Yeah,
banners.
why not? Why not? There you go. I always love just being able to look. It must be fun too, covering teams that are just. I mean, the Stanley Cup champs, the last 2 Eastern Conference titles.
Yeah, to be able to go to the Stanley Cup Finals in back-to-back years is pretty crazy. That's what they hope to get to across the street.
Isn't it funny too that they have the most basic logo in the history of sports too, right?
It's not great.
It just looks like a business professional Panther.
It's not great.
He's like it looks like his like the picture taken by the
looks like a luxury vehicle
by the Florida DMV. They're all Mr. Panther. Could you face this way for the? Is he wearing a suit?
The Panthers Unwanted posters. Is that what you're saying?
It looks like he's a family. He looks like he's a family Panther. You know, he's just like he has a family at home. He just takes his business very seriously. I don't know how they got a Panther to stand up and
it's not even growling.
No, he's just looking.
How am I supposed to take this Panther serious?
Looking. And did we figure out if they do have Panthers in Florida? We're on it. Here
yes.
Comes. Yeah, they do. No, of course they do.
It's the state's official animal.
Well, and Florida's the
There are approximately 120 to 230 adult Panthers in Florida.
Adult Panthers?
The core population is in South Florida, below the Caloosahatchee River.
Of course it is. No, I was going to say that. I was going to say that.
Caloosahatchee.
Yeah, it's the Caloosahatchee. Yeah.
The more you know.
The Panther. Yeah, Florida's the Australia of the 50 states. So of course they're going to have Panthers there. Something will kill you anywhere in that state. All right, we'll take.
Good thing they got Florida Man down there to protect them.
That might actually be the scariest part of Florida is the Florida man. All right? Fill in the blank. I've read a lot of stories from Florida man over the years, and none of them surprise me anymore. None of them surprise me anymore. And if some of them contain a Panther, then so be it. That's the way it is. All righty. We'll take the break here. We've got more to go. Stay with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Duke on a 10-0 run here early at Cameron Indoor. That's, you know what? That's a bucket list place to go, right? Have you ever been to Cameron Indoor for like an actual Duke?
No, I wish.
Like an ACC matchup between. I mean, right now,
Duke, North Carolina would be your bucket list game to go see in Cameron Indoor.
But like you forget because the Cameron Crazies, like no one sits down the entire game. So your BYU fan who sits behind you and goes, "Sit down," non-existent. The Cameron Crazies stand up the entire game, and because they're standing up even around the edges on like the first row, it looks crazy because it just looks like you're on top. These guys are on top of these players. So if I would say a bucket list venue for me, I think Cameron Indoor would be one of those places because apparently it's a pretty tough ticket to get.
I bet.
It's intimate enough that it is insane.
Yeah, it's not a 20,000 seat arena like Rupp.
No. So, yeah. Oh, and Coach K in attendance. You better mind your P's and Q's. The legend's in town. His name's on the court. You better figure it out. But they're up 23-17 early against Pitt right here. Number 4 Duke. So, like, why, for example, is Pitt 12-2 and 3-0 in the ACC and they're not ranked? And Duke is number 4 in the country. They're 12-2 and 4-0 in ACC play. See, I never get the ranking system in college basketball. I just never get it.
It's not really important. It isn't.
I know, because if you're
AP poll matters in college football. Basketball, I mean,
know.
Just teams want to be respected. Like Utah State entered the top 25 this week.
Awesome.
It's a matter of respect.
That means something different than like for a Baylor team who just got out of the AP top 25 after their big loss to Iowa State, and they go, it's fine.
Yeah, they'll probably be a 4 or 5 seed in the NCAA tournament.
We're going to still
fine.
be in the NCAA tournament and be a pretty darn good team. Possible Sweet 16 run, so I get it. It's fine. Let me see here. That music, of course, means the NFL Roundup is on top of it. Do we have tickets still to give away? Oh, boy. We got yourself a Jazz Ticket Tuesday hooked up. If you're calling number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-9663. You get a pair of tickets to see the Jazz and the Miami Heat coming up on Thursday, January 9th. That's in a couple of days. This Thursday, day after tomorrow, at Delta Center. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. Calling number 12 right now. Okay. NFL Blitz looks like this. It's a bloodbath. Who got fired next? Well, it was made official today, right before we came in to the studio. Just a few minutes before that, Antonio Pierce was officially fired. Do you think that Mark Davis had to be told, like, hey, man?
Maybe he was on vacation. Maybe Mark Davis just slept in yesterday. I don't know.
Oh, you know what? He silenced that alarm that reminder on his phone that said fire Antonio.
He can do whatever he wants.
Fire Antonio Pierce. He gets fired after finishing 4-13 after his first full season as the head coach of the Vegas Raiders. There you go. Antonio Pierce, we hardly knew ye. Probably welcome back with open arms to Arizona State. Does that sound right?
I think they've moved on.
What are you talking about? Former NFL head coach?
I think
that works well
Coach
at Arizona
Pierce's
State.
involvement in the sanctions that they had to overcome would probably prevent that from becoming a thing. I don't think
Arizona State's going to make an amendment to their school constitution that says we will never hire a former NFL coach ever again.
Yeah,
we can't do it.
That'd be wise. It's crazy. That's a tribute to Kenny Dillingham for turning that thing around as quickly as it did because they made a mess down there.
Hey, so
they made a messy.
Let me ask you this, because Tyreek Hill is claiming, or what? No, the GM for the Dolphins is claiming that Tyreek Hill. They had a great conversation and being traded never came up. Tyreek Hill's like, I'm gonna go to the highest bidder. So which one's which?
I think we know.
Don't you love when
The
GMs
Dolphins want Tyreek Hill.
Don't you love when the general manager goes, "Oh, we had a great conversation. We had a sandwich. We talked about each other's
Our
families.
meeting was catered. We tried everything we could.
I know.
To keep Tyreek in Miami.
I don't know, but where does he end up? Somebody, what was it? Our
back to
producer,
KC?
Alex. Well, there was that. I definitely saw some mentions of that. But wherever Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams end up, bring Tyreek Hill. Come on, man.
Just go add every washed up NFL free agent.
Oh, who'd be a good add to that mix? Okay, so you got yourself. Get Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield.
There you go. There's your washed up all pro running back.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about Ezekiel Elliott because he's being talked about as being added to the.
Bring TJ Watt out of retirement.
Was it to the Chargers? Is that who was saying that they might add him? No, it was somebody even dumber. It was the Chargers. Okay. They're going to add Zeke, maybe. So Ezekiel Elliott, we were just talking about Derrick Henry. He's run for over 11,000 yards in his career.
Yeah.
They're approaching 12.
1,900 this year.
Ezekiel Elliott has he has over 9,000 in his career.
He's had a good career.
Well, the best year he had by a good margin was his rookie season.
Okay.
When he had 1,700 yards. And then after that, it was like 1,400 yards, and it was an 1,100-yard season. And then after that, he had 3,000-yard seasons, and then some very meh years, including this year where he was 73 carries for 314 yards, which is good for almost 3 yards a carry. And they're going to add him onto a playoff team's roster right now. Joke's on the Cowboys. You're going to release me before the playoffs. I'm going to go to a playoff team. Come on, man.
Smart.
I guess.
Go get a ring.
The Titans have fired Rand Carthon as their GM.
Interesting, but they keep the coach.
Now, usually we see the other way around.
Well,
right?
because a GM, I mean, there's a line of power there where
Right.
your general manager needs to work hand in hand with the head coach, and there needs to be a good rapport there and a good relationship. We've seen when you have bad relationships between a GM and coach and things get sour, things can go bad. So you usually hire the GM first. So you have your owner, your team president, your GM, and then your head coach.
What's going on with who are the Bears going to hire? It's not Pete Carroll, right?
They're interviewing Pete Carroll today.
My guy?
Your guy.
If he doesn't roll up with 9 pounds of chewing gum in his mouth for that interview, yeah, I love it, man.
I hope he does it shirtless.
Listen.
Is it cold here? I can't tell. Thought they said it was cold in Chicago. I can't tell.
But Pete Carroll's how old? I mean, honestly,
73?
He might be older than Coach Belichick, right? Belichick has lived some hard
Pete
years.
Carroll's 73.
Yeah, and Bill Belichick's 72. Pete Carroll is actually older than Bill Belichick. That does not feel right. Now,
That's the truth.
Bill Belichick's young at heart with the girlfriends that he chooses, and so I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Let's just stay
Belichick's
young.
going to college. Got an Animal House situation.
If they don't make a movie out of this, I'll be so mad.
Remake of Rodney Dangerfield.
I
says
just
Bill
want one of those.
Belichick.
I want one of those like interviews where it's like him and his girlfriend, and they're like being interviewed like Real Housewives of Chapel Hill.
It's so uncomfortable.
Oh my goodness! Wait, Chapel Hill's where UNC is, right?
That's correct.
Duke is in Durham. Is that
That's
right?
correct.
Okay, I'm just sometimes
Tobacco Road.
I get my North Carolina cities mixed up periodically. The Packers wide receiver Christian Watson has indeed. This is a massive hit for the Packers. Tore his ACL. Gosh, and this is exactly why you sit guys, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you're not going to. I mean, there are guys who have money on the line. What did Kyle Van Noy get, by the way, bonus-wise?
$250,000 for one sack.
For the one sack.
Yep.
So the
They put him
incentive
over
was
12. The incentive was 12 sacks.
He did it.
He got to 12.5.
He had
got that
9.
bonus.
He had 9 by like game 4 or
That wasn't
5.
that wasn't even close to the best bonuses on Sunday.
What were that? But see, somebody got.
Geno Smith,
What did he get? $6 million.
$6 million. He hit 3 different incentives, $2 million each.
Look at that.
Mike Evans got that record. The
what did he
1,000-yard
get?
season. Another $1 million.
No problem.
Yeah.
Look, and I was when they were asking Baker because Bucky Irving got that rushing touchdown, and nobody touched him like on the way into the end zone, and they were like, "Get out on, Bucky. They were like, trying. And then they go, what were you thinking, Baker, when you said that? And he goes, beep. He's like, yeah. How are we going to get the ball back? How am I going to get I guess I'm going to have to encourage him to play another 11 years in a row to try to to be in the same breath.
Start over.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like shooting free throws. Start over.
Whose name would you want to be mentioned with more? Jerry Rice? Like when you talk about
Depends
tying
on your
a guy.
position, right?
That's
a
what I'm
great
saying.
question. Depends
but I mean,
on your
like
position.
a name that you go there and be like, yeah, that's as good as fill in the blank.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a name as big. Like Tom Brady obviously is what but like when you and I were growing up, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice were the goats of everything, right?
Yes.
And those were the names those are the only names. Walter Payton, like those are the names you're like, no, that's the best ever.
Yeah.
And no one's ever going to be better than Jerry Rice. And by the way, no one may ever still be better than Jerry Rice, right? When it comes down to it. So
got to break his records to say you are. It's like Tom Brady. Tom Brady had to break Joe Montana's records, break
Drew Brees'
Peyton Manning's records.
Yeah.
You have to break those guys' records. And now Tom Brady's a GOAT because he's done he's done things that nobody else has. Yeah, to be in the same conversation with Jerry Rice, that's pretty special.
The Cowboys, by the way, the reason that Pete Carroll's in the mix for the Bears job, by the way, bullet dodged Chicago. The Cowboys have denied the Bears a request to interview Mike McCarthy. How do guys get jobs, man?
I would have been begging a team to interview Mike McCarthy because then you don't have to fire him.
Oh, shoot, coach, don't go. Here's your stuff.
Oh, man.
Here's your bag full of stuff.
We're going to miss you. Enjoy that wind in Chicago.
I'm just doing the interview, dude. You didn't have to hand me my full locker of gear. Oh, sorry. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Please just take this box with your belongings and everything with you to Chicago and just stay there, by the way.
Is Jerry Jones popping up on everybody else's timeline with the Landman stuff?
Yes.
That makes me kind of want to watch that show, right? Billy Bob Thornton is a weirdo, but he's like the good kind of acting weirdo, right?
I thought that was AI when I first saw it.
It did. Look, I was like,
that can't be real.
It's not real, right? Yeah. I might have to go watch that show. I'm watching the third season of or the second season of Shrinkage though.
Is that on? Are they all on Apple TV Plus?
No, Landman is.
What's Landman? I can't keep track. All the best TV shows aren't on TV anymore.
No. Shrinkage is good though, man.
I've heard good things.
Shrinking, is that what it is?
You called it shrinkage?
Sorry, that's a Seinfeld episode.
Can you say that on the radio?
It was cold,
dude. You've had a.
No, you're the guy.
Pushing the envelope the last week.
You're the guy. You're the one who brought up
after the thing you said last week, and now
brought
this.
Up broken nipples last week during the frostbite.
Nipples are one thing. I didn't say shrinkage.
I'm out. Oh.
You did that, not me. I didn't do that. Don't look at me, Alex.
We're gonna come back. This is why we take a break. We're gonna return. When we do, we've got some more stuff to get through, so don't worry about it. Hey, by the way, nominate that youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. The way you do it, you submit that nomination, KSLSports.com/contest. Listen every Thursday afternoon to this program, and you can get yourself the winner. And those winners, while we celebrate those efforts of what they do in their neighborhoods and in your neighborhood with the kids and their state as a volunteer, that just means they're not doing this because they want the recognition. But we can give them that recognition with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Credit Union and Beehive Meals. There you go. Just go to KSLSports.com/contest and nominate those sports volunteers in your neighborhood today. All right. We'll come back and we'll wrap some things up here. We'll have our conversation with Dr. Neff here around the corner as well. So stay right here. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Final segment of the day. We're getting you ready for the Utah Jazz facing off tonight at home against the Atlanta Hawks. I've never seen the double pump dunk. They used to tee guys. I remember they tee guys up for just being on the rim for a quarter of a second.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're on the rim. They're yanking on the rim. I sound like such an old guy. Oh, these kids are yanking on the rim these days. Probably listening to the rap music on the way up. Dare they?
Got hippity hop.
I will say that Georgia basketball court, which you don't think of Georgia and go, man, I love their basketball program.
No.
But they do have that massive UGA in the middle of the court. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. Love it. All right, best and worst. Brought to you by Doug Smith Dealerships in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and now, of course, in Linden. It's the full family of dealerships if you need to get the amazing mix of whatever car you want, from Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, Ram. Like I said, the Kia, of course, in Linden, and now the Mitsubishi in American Fork. Nobody knows cars like Doug. Let's because we have short time here, let's just go to the best, which is Walker Kessler watching his girlfriend, soon-to-be fiancée. You better be soon-to-be fiancée. Miss
He's gotta
America.
lock that down.
Yeah, man. She wins Miss America. He gets to watch it on the iPhone.
Walker needs to put a ring on it.
We were just, I mean, this is, it's pretty cool, though. If you watch, they're at this, I don't know what they're at, like it's a conference table of some sort, and he's watching it on the iPhone with Coach Hardy. And it's pretty awesome to watch. And so congratulations to his girlfriend, Abby Stockard, who wins Miss America. And Walker was at dinner. Obviously, you're on the road. You got to do this kind of stuff, but pretty darn cool.
Yeah, it really was cool.
And the year that you're having your best year, your breakout year, you've grown up a ton, and then you're doing this. It's amazing. All right.
Congrats.
Final time to be able to chat with Dr. Neff here really quickly. Dr. Neff, give me the beats here. Only Crowns. It's what you guys do. It's $6.99 per tooth. The technology's there. We got to get people coming in and doing this thing, man.
Come in and see us. It's the simplest, easiest way to get a crown. Come in, see us, $6.99, 90 minutes or less, and you've got a crown.
Let's get it taken care of. If you're out there, don't wait on it anymore, man.
Yeah, warranty, take insurance.
Come on.
If you need a crown, it's the place to go.
Onlycrowns.com is the website. You can go find it. Dr. Neff and Dr. Carpenter are going to take care of you. 385-308-1010. That's 385-308-1010. Onlycrowns.com. Thanks, Dr. Neff. We'll chat with you again next month, man.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you again. All right, more to go right around the corner. Only Crowns is 385-308-1010. And you're going to have Jazz basketball coming up right now. 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.